All right. Welcome to the Girl Activate podcast. Welcome, everybody. You know me, I got to be trying something new all the time. So now Instagram has given us the feature to go live. So now I'm live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And it was just a little bit of a glitch there, but I believe we're rocking on all the channels right now. Okay. We're
Awesome.
syndicated. We're syndicated.
Awesome.
So, welcome to the Girl Activate podcast, where we drop inspirational gems that you can apply to your daily life to help you to awaken the greatness within. The Girl Activate community is also for the girlies that are not only looking to take their life to the next level, but take their business to the next level. And speaking of next level, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in today's episode with tax professional Charisse Lee. She is going to be telling us all we need to know about our business taxes to get set up for success in 2024 and beyond. So now, when I chose this topic at this particular time, I know it's not the most sexiest, fun, intriguing topic to some. I mean, to me, I like numbers, I like business, but it comes at a time we're still, even though it's Christmas and we're in the chair and we're in the giving season, it's still the end of a business tax year. Okay. So the money's coming out. And, I don't even know if the money's coming out from the right place, but we're going to be talking about that. Okay. So the money's coming out. Hopefully your business funds and your personal funds ain't commingling and doing all that stuff.
Mm.
But I said all that to say that even though it is the holiday time, it is still a very important time for us business owners, entrepreneurs, and solopreneurs, freelancers as well. Okay. So today I want you to grab a pen and paper. You're going to see me looking down because I'm going to be taking notes too. Okay. Because it's going to be really good and something that you're going to want to share, and look back on as a resources for days and months to come.
Yep.
So today's guest, Charisse Lee, is the co-owner of L&L Accounting Services, a family-owned business for over 35 years, licensed in New York, but services clients in all 50 states. L&L is a full-service firm specializing in bookkeeping, to tax preparation for both corporate and personal, to payroll and sales tax services, as well as tax and estate planning. And let me also throw in there that L&L Accounting Service is my preferred service. Okay, so I've been rocking with these CPA and accounting services we were just talking about this before the
Yeah.
show, for over 10 years.
Yep.
Over,
Before you had your salon.
we're like family now.
Right.
We're literally family. We are literally family
Right.
now. But that just goes to show you how much I trust her, how much I trust the business. They handle all
Thank
my
you.
taxes for my personal, for my family, for my business. So I'm just very excited to have her here. Charisse's passion is not only to increase tax awareness of her clients so that they can streamline their business operations, but to also assist with strategies that maximize the advantages that come from having a business entity. All right. So without further ado, let's welcome Charisse. Thank you for making time out of your busy schedule to chat it up with the Girl Activate community.
Of course, of course. I think this is awesome that you're doing this, spreading awareness to everyone. This is amazing.
Yeah, and thank you so much for being here. I mean, we had a little convo right before the show about
Yeah.
how, and not, it's, for me, it's not just about sharing this business advice or branding advice or tax advice. Sometimes it's important just for people to see our face.
Right.
Sometimes
Right.
it's just our presence. Representation matters. It sounds
100%.
cliche. It sounds cliche, but it is what it is. All right. So you ready to jump right into it?
Sure.
All
Let's
right,
go.
let's just jump right into it. Can you share a bit about your journey in the world of accounting and what inspired you to pursue this career?
Well, I started off working at a credit union for about 11 years. Once I graduated, I started actually in high school.
Mhm.
And once I graduated from undergrad, I started working with my father as a part time bookkeeper. That put me through undergrad and grad school. And once I left the credit union in 2011, I started working full time with my father. And he pretty much took me under his wing to show me not only bookkeeping at that point, but then I started going into tax preparation, more on the personal tax side. But towards the end of his life, he ended up passing in 2021. He started showing me how to do corporate returns. And it was like almost like he kind of prepared me for when he did pass, that I was able to do both personal and corporate returns. My younger sister and I, we decided to continue the business. My father, I don't think he had faith that we were going to actually continue, but I felt like I wanted to do that for him to continue his legacy. I mean, he's had clients that knew us from when we were little girls that are still with us, my sister and I today, that I'm still preparing taxes for. So I'm like, I felt like I'll be doing a disservice to them by closing the doors with the business. So, we decided to keep it running for him. And where I became inspired is from when I was younger, I always liked to keep as much money as possible. I'm like, I don't want to really give my money away if I don't have to. And with taxes, I felt like, you know what, this is a great career to get into because I can actually save other people save money for them when it comes to their taxes. So I would say that's what really inspired me.
Where did you get that the love of saving from? Because it's like I feel like it's something you either have or you don't have. Like having two
No.
daughters, I kind of see the spectrum on the spending habits, the saving habits. It's just something that you like to do.
From day one. I mean, from when I started working, I always put money aside. I teach my son now, if you get money, you just split it three ways.
Mm-hmm.
You give yourself some to spend, you save 10% or, a third of it, and then you give it away. You give some money away. You always want to make sure you're giving some money away. So save, spend, give away. And that's something that I've been doing from when I started working in high school.
And
And
let me tell you, these younger folks and some of these older folks, that giving away part, I think a lot of people were like, "Ooh, you lost me."
Yeah, I mean, not that you have to give a lot, but even if it's to your mom or your dad, like just to say, here's a couple like $20.
Yeah,
Get yourself some gas or something. If you keep your hand like this,
yeah,
nothing is coming in, nothing is coming out.
yeah.
So it kind of works. You have to kind of look at it that way.
Listen, guys, this is a master class, all right? Because we're living with universal laws. There's the law of reciprocity, the law of abundance, all these different laws that some of us are not aware of. It's kind of like some people call it karma, right? They think karma is a bad thing. What goes around comes around. But if you want a lot, sometimes you have to give the thing that you want. You want love, you have to give love.
Yep.
You want abundance, give abundance. You want money, sometimes you have to give money. But that's a
little tricky with that. Yeah.
So you've worn many hats in your business, but so what is your actual role? So when I met you over 10 years ago, you were doing a lot of different things in the office,
Which I still do, yeah.
Yeah. So, but one thing I do notice, like, I think, I refer to my daughters a lot. Like you're in the family business. So whether you know your stuff or not, people are going to automatically trust you because it's like indoctrinated in you. Like if my girls were to start doing hair right now, I don't think anybody would question whether they went to school. They just, oh, that's Stacy's daughter.
Right.
But what is your actual role right now currently?
So I still am, I prepare personal corporate returns. I do sales tax. I do bookkeeping. But what I really love doing is cleaning up of books.
Yeah.
And advising on advisory services to help with saving and taxes. Mm-hmm. You'll be amazed with how many clients come to me from another accounting firm and their books are a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, I can literally look at a balance sheet and I can tell whether or not the person who was managing their books knew what they were doing within seconds of looking at it.
Oh, like
So
what pops out normally?
any negative numbers on a balance sheet, depending on, so like you'll see certain numbers like depreciated assets, maybe if you have a shareholder or owner taking draws, you'll see negatives there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you see negatives in the liability section, I immediately know that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you find that a lot. I mean, I've seen CPA firms, clients coming from CPA firms where the books look like that. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, I know.
So
That's so crazy. And that's another reason why you got me forever. So, how has your diverse experience shaped your approach to working with clients? So, for those of you who don't know, definitely check out the full bio. I'm going to put a full bio, Charisse's full bio in the description. So when I say diverse, I mean, when I met Charisse over 10 years ago, she had her educational background and her interest. And she just seemed to be a very, when you meet her, because you're going to meet her, you'll
yes.
just see she just naturally seems like a very knowledgeable person. So how has that experience, that exposure shaped your approach to working with clients?
Well, it's definitely helped me paying attention to detail. Just a simple mistake as a date in bookkeeping can actually have a business owner understating income just because of a date being put in wrong. They can change a year. It can go from 2023 to 2020 to 2013 and not be reported on a tax return. So attention to detail, which I feel like I've learned in banking as well as when it comes to me tracking my own expenses. I always want to make sure like, okay, why is my credit card not balancing? It could be off by a penny. And I'm like, no, I'm going through this. I don't care.
Oh my gosh, I'm the same. People used to make fun of me when I had my first salon. Let's say we closed at 8 o'clock. I'd be at the computer 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, trying to balance. It could be a penny. It could be $1. I have to know.
Like a huge deal.
It has to come back to zero for me all the time. I would lose sleep if I can't reconcile down to zero.
Down to the penny. Yeah.
I get it. I think it's just a numbers thing.
Maybe because when I used to work at the bank, we had to balance our draw. It had to match with what was in the system. And that's one thing my manager used to always love. My draw always balanced. I was one of the fastest and I was the most accurate.
Yeah.
So, and I was always help the other tellers to balance their draws if they had any mistakes or anything like that. But that's one thing that I feel like that has helped me with even, doing taxes now, doing bookkeeping now, just making sure paying attention to the fine detail. Customer service, one thing that I find with a lot of the new clients that has come to me since I took over the business for my father, is they say that their accountant doesn't get back to them. Mm-hmm. They say they'll call, no answer, weeks go by. So that's one thing I try and make sure I keep in touch with my clients. If they reach out to me, I try and get back to them in a decent time. When it comes to speaking my client's language, I have an example of, I have a hairstylist, one of my hairstylist clients. She was thinking about leaving because, she was like, I don't know if I can afford the cost anymore. And I kind of had to break it down to her in a way where she would be able to understand. And I said to her, okay, let me use myself as an example. I could easily do my hair myself, transitioning from relaxed hair to natural, and damage my hair trying to save on costs. Or I can hire a professional that can, knows how to work with my hair. I have to pay for this professional. However, they specialize in transitioning hair, natural hair, relaxed hair, whatever the case may be. So I said to her, look at my services as that. When somebody comes to you to get their hair done, they're looking for you to assist them in something that you specialize in. And the same thing comes with my service. You're looking for me to do something for you that you may be able to do yourself, but you don't know if you're doing it the right way. Yeah. So that's one thing. Just me saying that, she was able to relate. She was able to understand it. She said, you know what, Charisse, I'm going to stay with you. No problem.
I think when I came on board, I had a similar, you know, similar feeling or experience where I was just like, you know what? I think I want to just try it on my own. Is there an app that I could use? And you're just like, you could try, you could do it. There are people that do it, but you have to also know yourself too. You have to
Yeah,
know, you might feel inspired by something that you watch, but bookkeeping in your business is something you have to stay on top of, because if you just let a little bit of time slide, it's like going to the gym, right? Or eating right.
right.
You let a little bit of time slide. You can have a
That's it.
rhythm, you could be in a flow, but if you just skip a day, skip 2 days, before you know it, it's all packed back on,
Yep.
and it just becomes double the work to keep up with. It's
Yep.
crazy. It's crazy.
Yep.
So you had a story about a tattoo artist too, right?
And a tattoo artist. Yep. I had a tattoo artist. He hears so many things from his clients about, oh, your accountant should do this, your accountant should do that. And I'm like, he says to me, one of my clients says, I can buy clothes and I should be able to write that off as a deduction. And I'm like, you know, it's within reason.
Mm-hmm.
So the IRS doesn't allow, if I could wear this shirt to a funeral, to a wedding, to the park, to the zoo, to the grocery store, the IRS is not having that. They're not giving you that deduction. That's not considered a uniform. Once you put a logo on it, then that immediately becomes a uniform and it can be a deduction. But I say to him, anything when it comes to using your vehicle for business, when it comes to you having a home office, I'm like, you want to make sure you have records for everything. And he's, I say to him, I want my clients, not that I try and be negative, but I try and keep it real. Expect the worst, hope for the best. So I try and say, let's prepare as if you are going to get audited. Mm-hmm. So let's make sure we have everything together. Cross your T's, dot your I's. And he's like, you always think so negative. Why are you thinking so negative? And I said, okay, let's use your business for instance.
Look at it.
Let's use your business for instance. You're a tattoo artist. You're putting ink on someone's skin, or there's so many effects that can happen with that. Do you not tell your clients? Do you not make your clients aware of these effects that can happen? You have to do your due diligence. You have to disclose to them the worst case scenarios of getting a tattoo. So how is it different from what I'm doing with my clients? Mm-hmm. He says, you know what? That makes sense. Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. And I'm like, so just those examples, being able to relate to, not go down to their level, but get to a level where they're able to understand what I do compared to what they do, and how there's similarities, but this is not what you specialize in. So let me do what I do and you do what you do, and we work together to make your business great.
Yeah. And I feel like that's so intuitive. That's such an intuitive approach to working with your clients, being able to hear them. And in business terms, it's like you want to meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
You just want to meet them where they're at. So sometimes you might need to use examples. You might need to use their language, or whatever your intuition tells you. Yep. Will help to improve that type of communication. So with that being said, what advice do you have for creative professionals that are dodging the business part of doing business?
Well, procrastination is the enemy of success.
Yes.
So I say you can actually cost your business more by pushing things off than trying to get things done in a timely fashion. Not to put pressure on yourself, but to put pressure on yourself, mm-hmm. Honestly.
Sorry, did I pop off for a second?
No, I'm here.
Okay, because I'm always experimenting with these platforms. I'm sorry. I just went to see if we were still live on Instagram.
Okay.
I was down. I'm like, oh my God! I hope I didn't. I hope I didn't mess anything up. No. But I will speak on the advice to give creative professionals that are dodging the business part of doing business. I mean, from my personal experience, sometimes it can be a little overwhelming because going into business, although now in this era, There's so much information out there between
Yes.
YouTube and books and podcasts. There's a lot of information. So you can't say you don't have the information, but application and execution is a whole different ballpark. So you might, in theory, have all of the things that you should be doing or need to do. But when you have to step into it, it can be a little bit overwhelming. But I just say, you know what? You got to start somewhere and you got to have a plan. So
Yeah.
when I was starting the business, and I'm one of those, I'm impulsive with the business, okay? I think that's just my character and personality. I could be a bit impulsive. But when I was going to start the business, I went for business counseling. And one of the things that they had us try to do, because I never completed it, was to have a business plan. And I think a lot of people, especially creative professionals, my fellow artists and creative professionals and freelancers, we kind of on the same vibe. We speak the same language. Sometimes the planning is just not, it doesn't seem natural, right? It's not the vibe to be planning. We like to be in the moment. We like to create from our feelings. But saying all that, the business counselor, they always recommend to have a business plan, and for a good reason. There's an actual checklist. There's a checklist before you start a business
and after it's set up.
And after it's set up.
Yeah.
So what I found that I got into when I started was I wanted to bypass that whole thing and be in my feelings and just jump into the business. But that's kind of like where you can, get yourself in trouble. But if you're looking at this, listening or looking at this podcast right now, and if you have the opportunity to prepare yourself for the business, I would highly recommend preparing yourself, because this is where you would set up your tax structures, your legal entities. You have a plan for how you're going to run your business. But sometimes we're in reactive mode. We're not proactive, and we're reacting. And I'm addressing the reactors right now, because I'm not addressing the proactive people. The proactive people take notes and get your confirmation that you're doing the right thing.
You're doing right.
It tells me I'm dealing with a lot of reactors right now. So what's the best way? With that being said, we're jumping into it. We're already in business.
Yep.
Over the years, I've spoken to my colleagues and coworkers and just, people chatting it up randomly who have started businesses. You're 1 year in, you're 2 years in, and you haven't done anything in terms of setting up your business taxes. Or sometimes even you'd be surprised, y'all listening out there, there's some people in business, I know it ain't y'all. I know it operating without a basic business account. That's like, to me, a lot of people, they come to me for coaching, for business coaching, and I want to get into the fun stuff. I want to get into the branding. I want to get into, your message out there. But it's just something in me. I think that's that reconciliation thing back with the
probably
right. It's something in me that can't jump to that fun stuff without having that foundation set up. So I'm like, well, do you have an S Corp, an LLC, a DPA? Do you have a tax ID? Do you have a certificate of for sales tax? Do you have a business bank account? And 9 times, I wouldn't say 9 times out of 10, because I don't know the actual number, but a high percentage of people don't even have a separate business banking. And what happens is you end up commingling the funds. You have your personal with your business, and then it just becomes overwhelming.
Scary.
That being said, what's the best way to get started, especially if they already feel behind?
Well, I'm the queen of checklists. I have checklists on my phone. I have checklists written all over my house. And I feel like if you jot down things that you need to do, and give yourself a deadline of when you want to have it done, and just chip away at it. Try and get one thing off a day, one thing off a week, and you'll be amazed with how you feel accomplished just by knocking off something. But don't put pressure on yourself. Rome wasn't built in one day. So you want to definitely take your time, but not too much time.
So what's some things you think might be on the checklist? So I'm not going to name any names so nobody gets scared and jump off the live, okay? But let's say, you know who you are. There's people that have been in business for at least a year or two, like I said. So let's say they had a checklist. Without giving a long, drawn out checklist, what would be that first one or two or three steps to catch them, to make them feel like they're catching back up?
Well, like you mentioned, a lot of people don't have separate business accounts.
Mm-hmm.
That would be number one. If they are required to have sales tax, like you mentioned, having a sales tax certificate, bookkeeping, having their bookkeeping in order or even started, tracking their income and their expenses. Those I would say are definitely the key to their business. Also, finding if they don't have a tax preparer, accountant, CPA, that will also be very important.
Yeah, I feel like that what you said would definitely relieve some of that weight, that overwhelm, to know that, okay, let's go back to the beginning, to that drawing board, to the business plan that they told me to make. But I did. They're checklists online, actually. So if you were to go to Google business startup checklist, maybe I might create a checklist and give it.
Right.
But business startup checklist, you'll see like all the things that, listen, if you're missing anything on that checklist, just go back. Just do yourself a favor, go back and make sure you get those things checked off. And then secondly, the bookkeeping is so important because that's one that I definitely try to do on my own. And let me tell you, when I had my my second business, back then we had to collect receipts. Remember that?
Yes. I mean, it's still important. It's still important to collect receipts even now.
Paper receipts.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Paper receipts. So that
important.
means that's a next level of responsibility.
Right.
Right now it's you can have your receipts
digital
emailed to you.
Yeah.
You know, like that. But back then, when I took on the task of bookkeeping for myself, it means you had to keep record of every receipt, have a little accordion folder for every category, put the receipts in there, tally them up, reconcile them with the business checking account. What was I thinking? Like, and still had to stand on my feet for 14 hours a day to do clients. And then I thought I was going to go now and reconcile books. And all it took was for me to slip one day and then say, you know what? I'll do it on the weekends. Oh, no. Oh, wait till you hear this one, Money Mondays. So I made Money Mondays was going to be the day that I did everything with mail and money and all of that stuff. So I love the fact that you said, listen, I know as women, I know we have men and women here, but women, we have this superhero complex where we need the help. We don't want to ask for it. It seems like a sign of weakness when we ask for help. But this is a different kind of help, all right? If you're a solopreneur, entrepreneur, business owner, this is a necessary help. I'm telling you, bookkeeping and everything else that Charisse said. So what are some things you think that they need to look for when choosing an accountant?
You definitely want an accountant that will be within your budget. You know, there's some accountants that some people will compare with H&R Block and Liberty Tax, you know, places that may close down after tax season is over. You definitely want to work with someone who's within your budget, someone who's reliable, reputable, someone that you can trust because this is your money. I mean, I want to say even last week, I had a potential client that called me up because she's being audited by New York State. And I said to her, I'm like, you know, send me a copy of your tax return. I'm like, send me a copy of the tax return. And she says she has a business and the accountant did a separate business tax return. So I said, send me that too. And I see that they reported a C Corp tax return. And then for that same business, they had a Schedule C, which is on the personal tax return. So they literally filed like two tax returns for this company. And her husband was the one who runs the C Corp, but the tax preparer had the Schedule C in her name. So I said, okay, where does this $19,000 of car expenses come from?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you mean you don't know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm like, so where is the person who prepared this tax return? I've been trying to reach him and he's not responding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you signed off on the tax return, meaning that you agreed to these numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where having someone that you trust is very important, because just like that, he's putting things on a tax return, or they're putting things on a tax return. You don't even know where it's coming from.
Right.
One thing with me, when I have a new client, and there are some existing clients that do ask me to go over it, and if I notice that they have a huge liability compared to prior years, I definitely want to go over the tax return with them. But what I do when I have my new clients, especially, is I show them how the documents that they give me, where I enter it into the tax return, where I enter it into the tax software, and then once I'm done showing them where I entered it, I then show them the actual tax return and go line by line with them, so they can see, like, okay, you see, this is your W-2 income, this is your mortgage information, this is your Schedule C business. And they say to me, like, oh my gosh, I've never had this done before. Like, this is so thorough. And they're like, now I feel like I understand taxes even more. But you have to have the trust. That's very, very, very big. And being comfortable with them, knowing that they are looking out for your best interest and doing the right thing by you and your business.
Yeah. I wanted you to speak. You spoke a little bit. It didn't even dawn on me until you just said it. There are seasonal tax places. I don't know, that just left my radar because I haven't had to use one in over 10 years. But I have to do my due diligence for my audience.
Yes.
Thinking of, you know what? That's the next step up from trying to do it yourself,
Yes.
is to go to one of these pop-up seasonal places that sometimes just throw numbers on there, just to fill in the box. And then, God forbid, you do get audited. You don't even
They're
know.
gone. They're nowhere to be found.
They're gone.
Yep.
So is it, I mean, so is that a L&L approved? I mean, not taking any business away from you, but what are the pitfalls? I mean, you did mention the pitfalls of going to these seasonal places. I know people that's going to them for years with no issues. I think if you have like cut and dry, like you just
simple returns,
simple return. Maybe you just work a job and everything is the same and nothing ever changes.
Yeah.
I think once you start getting into business.
Yeah. No, you definitely want somebody that's year round and, specializes in that, because you don't want to be left out on a limb.
Yeah.
Not knowing what to do next.
Wow.
So
now they know what to look for in a tax preparer, tax professional. So let's say they make it to the office and I'll be so proud of y'all when you get to the office, whether it's virtually or in person. I'll be so happy and proud of you when you do that for your business. Because a lot of people, I mean, I digress, but there's a lot of buzzwords out there with this, 6-figure, 7-figure business, and you want to be a millionaire, you want to do all those things. I definitely got swept up in that, but sometimes it's not in alignment with your actions. Just last week, I was talking to my last guest about this revelation that I had about being in alignment with what you want. So your thoughts, your words, and your actions have to align. So you're saying 7-figure business, but your thoughts are not 7-figure and your actions are not 7-figure. So I think that is definitely a step in the right direction. So let's say they make it in for a consultation. I suggest L&L accounting, but let's say they go a different route and they have their consultation. What are some things that they need to bring with them? Like, what kind of questions should they be prepared to answer? I know for me, I brought in some, you guys had a checklist, some things to have to start, when we're ready to retain you or your business. There were some things I needed on a checklist. What are some questions they should be prepared to answer? We already know what to ask, but what should they know for themselves to answer in this consultation?
One, if they have a bank account, separate bank account for the business, if the structure of their business, the amount of owners, if they have any employees, when was the business established, like if it's something that is just opened or if it's been around for a couple of years, and what are their expectations for the tax, for the accountant, like, are they expecting to have payroll services, sales tax services, bookkeeping, tax preparation, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So we talked a lot about the process of getting set up or, figuring things out. But I also want to throw a little bit of perspective in there. Like, what happens if you just try to let it slide? Because, it's funny because as I'm having these podcast interviews, right?
Mm-hmm.
I literally have specific people in mind. I literally have people in mind when I'm asking these questions, But what happens if you think like I'm just gonna let it slide next year, 2024, then that turns into 2025, and that turns in. What is the ramifications really of just not doing anything?
Well,
or not doing it. Yeah,
if the business is already established, the IRS can go back as far as 6 years for audit. So even if you're not filing anything, I say record keeping. Make sure you're trying to be as organized as possible. Like you were saying with the accordion folder, keeping your receipts. If you're not keeping them, the physical copies, maybe you get a scanner where you can scan the receipts in and have it where when the time comes, when you're ready to do your tax return, you have everything together. Keeping track of your miles. If you're using your vehicle for your personal vehicle for business, you want to have a paper trail of that, whether it's an app or a logbook. If you're using your home for office, having the square footage available, making sure that your home office is exclusively used for business purposes and nothing else. So it just really comes down to just organization.
Okay. So with that being said, I mean, I know you touched on this several times earlier, but is it something that you can actually manage on your own?
You can. I would say maybe in the beginning, if you find that business is just starting off, you may not have that many expenses or, that much income coming in. But once it gets to a point where you feel overwhelmed, like you said, you're like, oh, I could push it off until the weekend. Oh, I could push it off to this. Once you start feeling overwhelmed, I think then it's for you to say, you know what? Let me focus on making money in my business and hire someone to focus on the back end, where you're not cutting your revenue and trying to catch up, where you could be seeing your clients on a daily basis, not thinking about bookkeeping and tracking income, tracking expenses, so on and so forth. So I would say once it starts to get crazy in that sense, you definitely want to hire someone that they're experienced in that. And it kind of goes back to the hairstylist that I was speaking to about, worry about getting your clients to do hair. Let me take care of this for you.
Yeah. So I want to just address the elephant in the room, in case everybody's tuning in just to hear about how to avoid taxes. People saw the title business tax or getting set up. I think it's like, oh yeah, how can I avoid taxes? How do I not have to pay taxes? Because
right.
There are a lot of influencers on online also talking about what you can do with a home-based business to avoid taxes. So how can you avoid paying back a lot of taxes?
Well, it's what is called is tax sheltering. And what they say is, tax evasion is illegal, but tax avoidance is allowed. Mm-hmm. So some of the many ways of tax, lowering your tax liability would be a lot of credits, which could be, owning a home, children, maxing out your 401k and IRA, home office deductions for LLCs, starting a 529 plan for your child for college, which helps on the state side. There's a bunch of ways to do it, but you definitely want to hire someone who specializes in it because they can look at the overall picture and see where, what benefits you if you're not doing it and how you can go about doing it.
Okay. And before we wrap up, I mean, I definitely am just getting warmed up, but I just want to be mindful of your time and our viewers' time. But before we wrap up, I did post on my Instagram stories that you were going to be on the show, and if
Okay.
anyone had questions,
Okay.
and I did get one question, and it was about estate planning,
Okay.
and I happen to know the individual, and she just basically asked, what can you do to set your child up for success with estate planning or something? You know what? Let me read the question. I'm messing it up. I'm messing it up. I'm messing it up. I don't think I'm that far off, but the question is, when estate planning. Oh, I lost the question. Oh no. But you get the gist of it.
Well, when it comes to minors, you have to make sure that you have someone that you trust to look out for them if anything were to happen. So a living trust would be what would be done, which would protect your assets from creditors if anything were to happen.
Mhm.
And when it comes to minor children, you would have a trustee that you would put in place. And my advice is, once they become of legal age of being an adult, is when you would go back over it to take the trustee off and now have the children as the trustee. But that would be the first thing, is doing a living trust.
Mm-hmm. I found a question. When estate planning, what is the first thing you should do to set your kids up for success? I just wanted to put the
So if you own a home, that would be one of the things, because even with my father, when he passed, he had put his property in a trust so that really no one can go after it. It's no longer owned by him. It's owned by this trust.
Mm-hmm.
So we are of legal age, so we didn't really have to have someone looking over it for us. But when it comes to minor children, you can literally have somebody pull it from underneath them if it's not someone that you trust.
So what would be the first step you would say?
Getting a living trust, and having someone that you trust to be the trustee.
Well, talk a little bit about that, because I think off camera we talked about how that could be tricky. So I noticed you emphasize the living trust, but trust, get somebody you trust. So
getting someone you trust. I mean, it could be a will. You can start a will listing someone as beneficiary that is of legal age. Life insurance, having a life insurance policy, having a beneficiary, and having your children as a secondary beneficiary. So if anything were to happen to you, that's something that you can make sure that you're taking the funeral cost is taken care of, and any expenses, whether it's education, college, private school, stuff like that. And just having a designated guardian for them. Again, if it's either their father or a sibling that you would have as a guardian for them.
Okay. So everybody, we're coming down to the wire now, and I just remembered we are live. So if you do have any questions in these last couple of minutes, make sure you pop them in the chat. I don't think you can do it on Instagram, but definitely on YouTube and Facebook if you're watching there. If you ask a question now, I'll definitely be able to see it in the chat. All right. So you have a few minutes to get that going. I know there's a little bit of a time delay. So estate planning and bookkeeping, tell us a little bit more about what services you provide at the office.
We have advisory services, which again is with saving taxes, the bookkeeping, business entity selection, payroll services, sales tax, tax prep, retirement planning.
Okay.
Yeah.
It made me also think of another person I had in mind, and she's running a nonprofit. I think we spoke about that a little bit too. And not what I like about your business is that it's so comprehensive, like it's full service for real. You know, if you are personal, corporate, you deal with for-profit businesses and nonprofit organizations. So is there any kind of special advice you would give for someone just starting out with the nonprofit in terms of how they handle their taxes?
Well, they definitely have 3 years to file a tax return before IRS revokes their non-for-profit status. And it does require a lot of information, like our organizer for non-for-profits is a couple of pages. So they have to make sure they have their information, keep track of the money that they're receiving as far as donations or sponsorships and stuff like that, keeping track of all of that.
Okay. So, well, before we wrap up, I just want to say thank you so much for pouring into the Girl Activate community.
No problem.
It was
Definitely.
so lovely
Definitely.
having you here. And, it's always good to hear this information over and over again.
Yeah.
And, I don't take it lightly. I mean, I use the services and I haven't looked back. Once I signed on 10 years ago, I have not looked back. And I really look forward to be able to grow, my business with your business. And, I want my all girl squad.
I know. I know.
Stop until I get my
I remember.
Squad. Okay.
Yep.
So, with that being said, tell my community where they can find you, how they can get in contact with you.
Yeah, well, we're located in Grand Avenue in Baldwin. We can be reached 516-292-1983, or our website at L&L Accounting, where you spell out the end, LANDL accounting.com. And if you mention Girl Activate, you get a discount on your consultation. So make sure you have everything together, because 2023 is pretty much over. And it's really time to start getting the ball rolling to be prepared for this tax year. So definitely give us a call.
Thank you for doing that. See, guys, that was a surprise. That was not planned. I didn't know you were going to get hooked up, but sometimes it pays to know somebody that knows somebody, right? They say membership has its privileges. So, what are some thoughts or final thoughts you would like to leave with the community this evening?
Well, just try not to compare your success with other people's success. I feel like that puts a lot of pressure on us as females, as business owners, as human beings. We're always looking at what other people are doing and saying, man, I'm not doing that. But God has a plan for all of us, and nothing's going to happen before it's time. So, if this is your year where you're like, you know what, I'm going to start a business, stay focused with that, stay on track with that, create your checklist, do your business plan, like Stacey mentioned, and go for it. Go for it. You have the support. There's support everywhere. Even if you have to reach out and say, Charisse, can you do a consultation with me just to answer this question? Not a problem at all. But just know that there's support for everything, and what's for you is for you. Simple.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And before I tell you what's going on in the Girl Activate community, I just wanted to show off that I could pop this up on the screen real quick. Make sure you hit Charisse and her team up at L&L Accounting, LNLaccounting.com. So what's going on here in the Girl Activate community? I'm constantly trying new things to see what's working. I mean, if it's not a new camera, a new mic, or whatever, today, for the first time, I am streaming live on Instagram as well. I literally just got the email this morning, like, wow, we have news. You can now stream on Instagram. So the techies and like the tech nerds, they're just as excited as I am. So once I started with this platform, I was able to now, because I used to always wonder, I want to be able to talk to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Like there's got to be a way that you could just talk to every at the same time. Yeah. But I would have my laptop, my iPad, and my phone here trying to talk to all. It was just too much. But today it was announced that is possible. So I'm looking in one camera, but I'm talking on Facebook, Instagram Live, that's new today, and on YouTube. So with that being said, you can listen to this podcast. You can watch it on YouTube, but you could also listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play or whatever. And just to let you know, I'm so excited. I am launching my course, Activate Your Brand, Mastering
Yeah.
Your Identity, on January 9th. So listen, don't spend up all the Christmas money or
Right.
leave that last Visa gift card, leave a little something on it, okay? So that you can treat yourself and start 2024 off in the right way. So what I want to do is help creative professionals and service providers. Y'all are my people. I want to help you to be able to communicate your personal brand online and master your digital identity. What does that mean? That means that, listen, we've been hiding behind our art. We've been hiding behind our skill and living in the shadows and watching everybody else get recognized. And let me tell you, I've been able to partner with at least five major global beauty brands as a global educator, as an ambassador over the last 9 years.
There you go.
And at the time, I didn't know that I was onto something. But looking back, they said hindsight is 2020. I'm like, actually, I had a little thing that I was doing. I had a little formula. And that's what I want to share with you. I want to share with you my 3-step formula to how I was able to secure these brand opportunities as a global educator and a brand ambassador without having a huge social media following. So if you haven't already done so, I have a free gift. It's a checklist. Checklist seems to be the word of the day. It's a 10 tips to communicating your personal brand online. It's absolutely free. And what I love about this is that it's a live document. So I was kind of in my head about creating like this end all be all PDF, because as you can see with social media, things are constantly changing. So I don't want to give you a PDF with old information. So I created a live Google Doc. Okay. So when things change, I constantly update it. All you have to do is go to link in bio if you're on Instagram, or go to stacyciceron.com. Hold on, let me help you out. Go to stacyciceron.com and grab that free checklist. So what happens when you grab that free checklist, you're automatically going to be in the community. So you'll be one of the first to know when my course goes live on January. Well, I'm saying January 9th, but you're going to get a heads up on the heads up of when that actually goes live. Natural Hair Meetup coming back February 2024. So be ready for that. And make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all those things to get that algorithm going, and share. Listen, this may not be the most fun topic, but it's the most needed. And I debated whether I should have us talk to Charisse now or talk to Charisse in January. And my spirit, and that's right, I listened to my spirit. My spirit said, do it now. We're 1 week, pretty much a week and change away from Christmas.
Yeah.
And spending is heightened. We're seeing all these reports where it's record-breaking spending. So I just want to put a little a little disruption in that spending pattern, and just wake you up to say you are still a business. You're self-employed, you're a freelancer, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner. This is an important time for us. So if we can start getting in that mindset to prepare for 2024, I wanted us to be able to do that now. So please pardon me if I interrupted any of your fun, but we got to keep it business here, right? Because the Girl Activate community is not people just wanting to take their life to the next level. You want to take your business to the next level. That's so important. We talk about legacy. We talk about breaking generational curses. I mean, all that stuff doesn't just happen like that. It takes preparation and planning. So, with that being said, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate this.
You made it through. You made it through. This episode.
This is awesome.
And so that means you'll come back, right?
Of course.
All right.
Educate people, on things that they may not be comfortable with. I think that's very important. They need that. Especially in our community.
Yes.
We definitely need that.
Absolutely. That's why I said representation matters. So everybody, Girl Activate community, wherever you're watching, thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the next episode. Ciao. All right. So I got to end the stream here.